Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's time to write now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right.
All right, my friends, welcome to another session of the Write Now Writers Group. We are here and we are live with my fellow writers, Calvin, Chetzel, Tiara. I'm so glad to have everyone here. For those of you who haven't joined us in a previous meeting, this is our weekly writers group meeting where we all come together, we chat with other writers in the community, and maybe, just maybe, we try to get some writing in. So welcome, y'all know me, Kaufman, dragons, scarecrows, and some of that craziness. So what we're going to be doing today is, as usual, we'll hop into some casual writing conversation. I would love to hear what's on your mind. What writing antics would you like to talk about today? Drop a comment. I would love to hear from you guys. ML, Megan, Lynn, Nil. Happy to see all you guys here in the chat. Always wonderful having all y'all here. So welcome. And let's see. What am I working on? I mean, what do I ever not work on? You guys know me. Working on Scarecrow, Pebble, Pixie. Currently, the Pebble has met her 3. Dragonkin. Oh my goodness. I keep forgetting the chapter that I'm on, even though I absolutely love this chapter. And I have something interesting to talk about. But I'll let everybody touch point on what they're working on today. Calvin, I'll throw it over to you. What are you working on, my friend?
Hey guys, I'm working on the usual. I'm working on the second story for the Storm series, which the first one will hopefully be out next month on May 15th. We just had a mech fight. Now we're going to actually move on with the campaign.
Ooh, so fun. Who doesn't love some mechs duking it out with each other? Absolutely love that, whether mechs or dragon mechs. Calvin, please let me know when one of the dragon mechs show up in your world.
That is a supreme possibility.
Oh, yeah, brother.
All right, so what are you working on today, my friend?
I'm still working on the rewrite of my fan fiction, the one that I wrote last June. Actually going pretty well. It's a dual perspective, and I've actually stretched it out from the first 2 chapters, and I'm now on chapter 11. But that's partially because I'm taking the dual perspectives and making them a chapter each instead of putting 2 into 1 chapter. It's to make it a little smoother, make it a little easier to follow, and I am adding in a crap ton of detail I didn't have before, and it is turning out awesome, and I'm having way too much fun with some of this.
I can totally relate with you. I feel like I'm actually going through the same exact thing with Scarecrow. So that's actually really cool. So I know you're always having as much fun as I am with our writing craziness. I feel like even when the writing is tough.
I found my niche of writing awkward teenage moments. I'm having like way too much fun with
awkward
that.
teenage romance.
Basically, think about like the first time you get a crush, when you actually like really like somebody and you have no idea what you're doing. I'm having way too much fun with that moment, and I need to stop myself.
Did I have fun during my awkward teenage years? Mixed bag.
Valid.
Well, hey, awkward doesn't mean good or bad. It's just awkward across the board.
It just means awkward turtle. Tiara, I'm glad to have you joining us, my weakest friend. What are you working on?
I'm so happy to be here. This is Lady Sansa. This is my writing partner, my best friend. What am I working on? I started a screenplay a few weeks ago. Honestly, I've been a little burnt out on writing, so I haven't really been writing. But I kind of came up. I had an idea for a short story a while ago, and I had reworked it a couple times, and now the original version is now like a different story, but it's fine. I went back to the original concept, so I'm working on that now. Sansa, you cannot have a French fry right now, baby. Yeah, she loves French fries. I got Dairy Queen yesterday, and she ate most of it. It was actually.
Does this short story involve any French fries in it? Maybe Sansa's trying to give you like a hint here.
You know what? It should. It should. It's coming to me now. I see it. I had a vision, actually.
You know, Tiara, sometimes that happens to the best of us, right? Like, I know a lot of us are balancing different responsibilities, right? And sometimes it's so easy to get burnt out.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about a lot of burnout and mental health strategies in the community before,
Mhm.
but I think it's awesome that you went back to one of your works and you're kind of trying something different, it
Yeah.
feels like.
But Megan just asked, sorry, I just want to answer this really fast. I don't have my chat pulled up on my computer, but so the first time I discovered Sansa likes French fries, I had actually ordered McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden they're sitting on the counter or the table or whatever, and she jumps up, steals a French fry, and runs away. So that's how I discovered she eats French fries, and so now every time I get French fries, she gets at least one or two. She gets a little French fry as a treat.
We gotta appease our furry friends
Yes.
because
Because
they
if
own the
we don't,
household,
they
right?
will attack us and be little butts.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. So something interesting that kind of came to me, and actually I should call out one of these comments first off before I get into it. Adrian, I saw Adrian hop into the chat with a quick announcement and said, "Howdy y'all, I plan to bring some writing here soon, but for today I'll lurk in the chat. Happy Mythic Month." For anyone who doesn't know, for the Read Now book club, the book for the month is Mythic. Everyone voted on science fiction, and the book is free to read for the month of April. So all you guys can join in it. All you have to do is go to Amazon. The ebook is completely free. So we're making this month extremely accessible. And yeah, hopefully everyone joins us. All the reviews on it, I mean, beyond Adrian being part of our Read Now co-hosts, all the reviews on it have been very favorable. So anybody looking for like a science fiction read, y'all should come join us. So definitely looking forward to it. I'm glad we were going to be able to switch from, we did paranormal fantasy last month and sci-fi this month. So I wanted to give that a quick call out for anybody who wanted to come join us. Middle of the month interview, end of the month live discussion.
Nice.
For me, I was like, I'm just trying to push myself to read more. So like, with all the other things going on in my life, I learned and realized that I'm a very fast reader when I'm like reading fiction. Nonfiction, which is what I've really been doing the past couple of years for self growth, I end up taking a little bit more time to really learn the concepts. But I realized with fiction, I'm like going through it at such a high rate, and I just forgot because I used to read so consistently when I was younger.
Same.
So I thought that was interesting. But writing. So something that came to mind that I found really interesting is Sol. I know you were kind of talking about how you were working on different ideas and they've kind of evolved over time.
Mhm.
And even Tiara, I know you went back to an original story. Something that came to mind with this chapter I'm working on with the pixie and meeting these dragonkin, these dragon characters. They originally, that chapter was one of the ones where I was stuck at. I was stuck at that chapter for like 2 weeks when I was working on this last year. And I just didn't know what to do when the main character was captured and then the other characters. I'm like, I don't know, maybe they just need to get to the next era somehow. So I'm like, how do I solve the problem? I put a dragon on it. And it evolved. Their dragonkin, well, they're technically a subspecies of dragon. I think it allowed me to use dragon lore in the world without making them dragon. I came up with a really cool
Nice.
mythology though. Like I decided that the dragons have been extinct for a long time, and the dragonkin essentially have been decreasing in size and stature over time because they've maintained the dragon genealogy and they've just been reproducing through dragon genealogy over time, which is why they're now the size of like your palm now as compared to what dragons should be. So I thought that was kind of fun, but that's evolved over from me being stuck. And like this is what I like to like reiterate and talk about. We all get stuck.
Yeah.
Try anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Try anything. Have you guys found any success in your own writing by when you've gotten stuck like that before?
Yeah. I actually got stuck with my current fan fiction that I've been rewriting and ended up going for anybody who's familiar with One Piece, there actually are some episodes like later in the series where we actually get to see Shanks fighting with Buggy like in the after effects of Roger's execution.
Mm-hmm.
The original fan fiction that I had, it didn't have quite that same aura. It didn't have like the rain and everything, and I wasn't sure what to do with it when I went back to rewrite it. So I actually changed the entire mood and suddenly it's like, oh crap, I know exactly what I want to do with this. When before it took me like 3 hours to figure it out, now it took me
Mm,
3 minutes when I decided simply to change the mood of it. That alone was enough.
Yeah.
And when I got stuck with like Shifting Flame, I kind of did the same thing. I took a mood, I took an emotion, I took a different character and put them into the scene, and even like the tiniest change just made the hugest difference.
yeah. I think that's really awesome. And I think I see with so many writers sometimes that they're almost like afraid to try new things, or like they get stuck and it's like an end all be all. But I mean,
Hmm.
like when you're the author, you
Yeah.
can literally do anything. Like, and
Yeah.
this is what always confuses me when somebody gets stuck like creatively. I'm like, you can literally try anything in the
And
world.
you know what? That's funny because that's where I get hung up.
Uh-huh.
Is that I can literally do anything, but I always get in my own head. Sansa, no, I always get in my
You
own
always get in your
head.
own head because the French fries are
Yes,
distracting.
they're tempting my cat. She said, Sansa, no. But yeah, I get in my own head kind of about the outcome. I'm
Hmm.
always like, I can try it, but what if it's bad? And what if I get, like, so
Mm,
I get very hung up on things that I probably
mm,
shouldn't, and that can always be edited in the future. There's
interesting. So it's
story I've
almost like when you're trying to brainstorm and conceptualize what you're working on, you
yeah,
have the end goal in mind.
yeah,
And I mean,
and I
you even
always
mentioned it, right? Even though it could be edited, it's like you know that it's going to change. So
yeah,
then it's like where it's that's really interesting. And Tara, you're not alone. I've heard that so many times. I've heard that
yeah,
like hundreds of times from writers. Like
and
that's so common.
I'll give a shout out to you, Kaufman. When I was working on my short story, the new one I'm working on now is the original concept of the one you edited last year,
Ooh,
and
oh, awesome. Oh, that's often that's the you returned to the dust.
yeah, so
Dust.
it's a little bit different. There are similar themes and like beats and stuff, but it's a bit darker in tone
Mm.
and kind of.
So is it now retitled The Dust Strikes Back?
Actually, yeah. How did you know? But
A new dust awakens?
right. But so yeah, it's a kind of different concept, but with similar themes or whatever. But
Mhm.
when you edited the version that kind of it exists as now,
Mhm.
it helped me kind of. I was like, oh my god, like I saw it differently. So
Mhm.
sometimes it helps to get a second pair of eyes on
Oh,
things that
absolutely.
really are stuck. Because
Mhm.
I had been working on that for so long. I was like, oh my
Mhm.
god, I don't even know where this can go next. And then once you got to look at it, I was like, oh
Mhm.
my god, I see it.
And that happens to the best of us. I mean, like
Yeah.
even like the professional top end writers in the industry,
Mhm.
like even though like the Stephen Kings of the world, right? Like even though they write a lot, the reason another reason they're successful is because they have teams of people reviewing their work. So like I think any type of writing that we do needs feedback from somebody else
Yeah.
outside of
Yeah.
our own brain. I agree with that completely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I could say like the number of times that I was on the streams themselves and I've been working on like some aspect of the scarecrow journey. And then I know there's moments where I'll read sections aloud. And it's more so because like if I was by myself, I would still read it aloud because I'm trying to
Mhm.
kind of like work through something and make sure that it actually makes sense. There's
Yeah.
been so many times where people from the chat or writers from the community have suggested really cool ideas that if I was writing it offline by myself, I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, but that's really cool. That's really interesting. So with how the stories have evolved, both Soul, it sounds like yours evolved, and Tiara, yours has evolved. Are you guys happy with the directions that you guys are going in now?
If I hadn't tried to actually change something and go ahead, I would not be done with my book. I would not have even finished Burning Ember. So yeah, no,
Wow.
I'm very happy.
Wow.
Yeah, and I guess I could say the same. Both versions of this story because the first original concept, um, I was like, no, this is too dark. I just can't go there. But now I feel I'm like in a different place where I
Mhm.
feel more comfortable going there, but also I'm happy with the way the other story turned out. So I'm
Mhm.
like, they can exist as two different things as long as I change the right elements so they're not too samey. So yeah, I think I'm happy
Mhm.
with kind of both with both of them right
Mm.
now.
Then the question becomes, what will that end result look like?
Exactly.
Hmm. I think it's really interesting when we've seen an idea, when we've seen like the end result of an idea, and we've seen how much it's grown um, from where it started out. Because then I think you can prove that as a success for yourself the next time you get
Mhm.
stuck, right? Because I
Definitely.
mean, you're
Yeah.
gonna get stuck
Yeah.
again. Like that's just part of the writing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta admit, after taking 19 years to get my book published, I have
Mhm.
no words for how satisfying that felt actually seeing it on a virtual bookshelf at Barnes and Nobles, on Amazon, on Kobe, all of those. I I've had a kid and I would compare it to being that exciting.
Aw.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, in a way, it
I
is your
love that
child.
film. No, what was that, Calvin?
In a way, it is your child. You've nurtured
Yeah.
it you've nurtured it for years, and now it's time to see it go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very fair.
definitely. And I mean, it became so much more than what I expected. So I thought it was just gonna be like this one book, and now, actually, I can't see it from my end because for some reason I'm offline.
Hmm.
But tell me if you guys can see these.
Yep.
That's
This
so
Ooh,
is the
exciting.
first. This is my first book. This is how thick it is.
Wow. How
nice.
many pages did it end up at?
Let's see. The first book ended up being. Give me a second here. 562,
Wow.
and then this one comes out on June 20th of this year. And I
That is
created
so
these covers
exciting.
myself, by the way. I did not actually hire anybody for two
Hmm.
reasons. One, I am poor, and two, well, I wanted to keep it in line with the same kind of art style as this is,
Hmm.
and I'm going to do the same thing with the third book. And then this one is 409 pages, so this one is
Oh
a
wow.
Hmm.
little shorter. But
Hmm.
then again, this was the first book. This was all there was supposed to actually be.
Hmm.
The second book actually took one character that was originally planned for the first book and ended up making him not exactly like it took him from not exactly being a protagonist but being like a secondary character to being the primary antagonist and kind of revolving around him. So it was planned but it wasn't planned. I actually had the third book planned before I had this one.
Nice.
Oh wow.
How long did they all the both books take you to write?
This one took me 19 years. Took me 19 years to get this one published. I started it when I was 12
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I was reading Bloody Jack and I was obsessed with pirates and I was reading and I was watching way too much One Piece and I wanted to write something like L.A. Meyer did.
Yeah.
Ended up turning it into that, and then this one took 10 months.
Oh wow.
But
Nice.
I also pushed myself, and I already had the first book done. Hi, baby.
Right. That's
Hmm.
fair.
So yeah, in the third one, I have a tentative idea of what I'm doing with that already. I already know
Hmm.
what the middle twist of the book is. I already know both the antagonists. I know the secondary point of view characters. So that one shouldn't take me long either. If everything goes well with that one should be publishing next June on the
Hmm.
27th. I'm doing them within a week of each
Nice.
other. For two
Wow.
Nice.
reasons.
Nice.
One, I want to keep a theme, and two, I'm just going to say it, the main character is transgender,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and what better month to publish an
During
LGBT
that.
character
Yep.
in?
Yep.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah,
there's
I
also
completely
another
agree.
major
That's
character
awesome.
who's transgender, and I'm not going to spoil who it is because it is very shocking, and I didn't even know I was going that route until I wrote it.
That's awesome.
I
But
think anytime that we can maximize book launches or book events for times when there's going to be more attention is definitely a win. Absolutely. Especially when there's so many options out there and we have to really figure out strategies to stand out. I
oh
agree
yeah,
with that.
Calvin, you're about to get published too, right? Am I thinking, is that you or am I thinking of
Yep.
somebody else? Okay,
Nope.
cool, cool, cool.
Nope.
How far are you in the process with that?
Kaufman is editing the book right now. He
That's awesome.
is hoping to give it to me tonight.
Okay.
Mhm.
But I'm going to then, at that point, I'm going to take a break from Storm 2 to spend the rest of this month and the beginning of next month preparing for the launch and everything. But I'll be honest, books. I spent 4 years. I started working on the first Storm book in 2021, so about almost
Mhm.
4 years. And here's the thing: that book is about 26 chapters. I've only been working on Storm 2 for probably about 2 months, and I'm already up to 22 chapters.
Hmm.
That's
And we're
awesome.
probably about halfway through the book, to be honest.
Nice. That's
It
awesome.
always seems like when the first book is done
Mhm.
and it's in a series, the second books always seem to come easier.
Mm,
Maybe because the world and
interesting.
the characters are already kind of set
Mhm.
up.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if that's how it will feel for me once I'm done with Scarecrow. It's
Oh,
interesting. I mean,
probably.
my guess is because, like you said, Soul, because the a lot of the determinations for character development and world building have already been made and established in the canon. So a lot of later books is really establishing the plot or further cementing pre-existing character arcs or introducing new characters.
Yeah, I gotta admit
Mhm.
that's probably that's definitely tracks. I know for Pirates, I only created 3 or 4 new islands. Actually, no, I created 2 new islands for Shifting Flame. I
Mhm.
fleshed out one of them, and I only added like a few minor characters.
Mhm.
And in the third book, it's not going to be much different. I have one creature I'm going to be fleshing out, maybe a second one that I'll add.
Mhm.
Um, 3 major locations, and then one of them fleshed out. But everything's already set. The main character there's not really much change in the main characters other than the fact there's been like a
Interesting.
decade gap between the second and third book. But that's that doesn't mean there's going to be like a world of change. It's
Is
literally just going to be like getting older and dealing with that.
were there any things that after the first book was published and you started working on and you had the other books in the series, was there anything that you wish that you could have gone back and changed after the first one was published and essentially the events of book one technically they become canon?
I would say if I could go back and change anything, I
Hmm.
would probably, and I'm not saying this to be a pun, I
Hmm.
would expand on the expanse. I probably could have done a little more with them and the Hendry whales and everything. At least hinted at them a little more.
And
Maybe done more with
is the
Sim.
expanse an event, a setting, and
It is a giant setting. Think of it
it's a
like
setting?
the Atlantic Ocean and the
Mhm.
Pacific Ocean pushed together without the
Okay.
continent in between them.
Okay. So you would
It
have done
is
more like a little bit more world building development to
pretty
flesh out the
much.
world. Okay.
And even then, it wouldn't have been a lot more. There really wasn't
Which
much that happened
that's
with
not
that.
horrible. That's
Yeah.
not horrible in terms of priorities. I think as long as plot and character are finely tuned, I think world building, like you can always have more opportunities for world building growth in later books as well.
Yeah, no, I'm actually thinking about including Hendry whales in the third book
Hmm.
because I really did actually want to include those more, a sighting of them. They're basically like
Hmm.
a cross between orcas and blue right whales or right blue whales.
Hmm.
And I just kind of wanted to include those a little more because, well, I create creatures just for the fun of it. It would have been interesting.
I love actually I'm kind of curious because we are I mean I saw now I'm thinking about creatures and animal types. And by the way, I just wanted to welcome Dragon Roost. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Always love seeing new writers here. And as everybody knows, my motto: if you're struggling with writing, put a dragon on it. So you are. I love your channel title. I would love to hear what you're working on, what type of writer you are. Feel free to drop a chat and come join the conversation. So speaking of creatures, so like what is your guys' favorite creature or animal creature type that you guys have created in your stories?
Why
Do you
did you
guys have
ask
a
that?
favorite? And like I'm sure you guys all have had different types of creatures. Um I don't know. And then I mean maybe like for science fiction, like Calvin, yours might be like technological based. I think I would consider like mech would be like a creature-esque type. I
Well, I
feel
mean,
like for science fiction.
I have my Gardas alien race, which doesn't
Hmm.
exist anywhere else. I made that race up entirely, just basically. My brother was asking me about one time. He goes, "What do they look like?" I said, take an Asgard from Stargate, make it 7 feet tall, and then give it a face like a predator, and that is a Gardas.
That is awesome.
And they're red. And instead of being like that grayish color, they're red.
Hmm. I love that. How did you know that you wanted to create them as like that type of creature type or race type?
Well, the predator races, the predator and Asgards are two of my favorite sci-fi races. So I'm like, wonder what happens if they decide to have a baby.
Mm, that totally makes sense. So what you're saying is their ancestors might have been predator related.
Might have been, or the Asgard in the attempt to solve their genome problem started freaking around with predators.
I absolutely love that. What about the rest of you guys?
I
I don't
might
think I,
have to say, considering all the creatures I've made for pirates, my favorite is not even in the series. It's more of an entirely new species. It's an apex predator that was actually born from a furry. It was a furry hybrid that I had made that I actually ended up making into its entirely own species, to
Mm-hmm.
the point that I wrote their culture. I could actually write a biology book on them. I can write their behaviors. You name it, I can tell you anything about them at this point. I have put that much work into them, and I
Mm-hmm.
still have yet to write Sikal's story. But it basically, think of something about the height of a Na'vi from James Cameron's Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Except these things are a lot beefier. They can be bipedal or quadruped. They have
Mm-hmm.
wings, and well, they literally give no shits about humans. They actually hate them, and they will gladly tear them apart.
that's awesome.
This sounds like a very fun, aggressive creature type.
Yeah, well, they're kind of justified. Humans hunted them and
Mm-hmm.
basically destroyed their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, they kind of have a reason. And Sakal, her story is literally just trying to justify, I need to find my family and not kill this human that's trying to help me.
Mm-hmm.
But their behavior, but I consider her a creature more because, well, they have human characteristics, but they're a lot more in tune with instincts than humans are.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of more animalistic.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Are they like a neutral character or an antagonist?
No, the main character, Sakal, for her story, um, she's kind of neither, I'd say. With her, it's literally she, because of an accident, she ends up falling from her home and ends up
Mm-hmm.
crashing to Earth. She ends up crashing to the Earth because they live like on these high cliffs, like well above the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up injured. She gets separated from her tribe. When she finally manages to return, she finds that the entire place has been destroyed, and she's just kind of wandering, and then eventually finds out that the ones that survived have been like kept somewhere, and she doesn't like actively attack humans, but she doesn't like help them. She's not
Mm-hmm.
really a villain, but she's not really a hero either. I haven't developed enough of her story to be able to say 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But if anything, she'd probably be more like Kasai, the reluctant hero, the kind of, I do
Mm.
not want to do this. Why for the love of God are you making me do this?
Oh man. Well, it sounds like you've definitely fleshed out a lot for that character. It
Yeah, it
definitely
took me
sounds like
about
you
two
fleshed out a
years to
lot.
make everything about her people. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just waiting to actually write her book,
Oh, that sounds
and
awesome.
yet I haven't started it.
What about you, Tiara? Have you created any cool creatures in your stories?
I don't think so.
Or is most of yours are human based, right?
Yeah,
Or you do
yeah.
both with human?
I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't even think in the fantasy story I was like specifically, I was kind of taking existing
Mm-hmm.
creatures and kind of just playing with that. But yeah, I don't think I've I need to branch out a little bit. I think I need to put something together. I need get on my Zoom.
Which
Awesome
is
story with
totally,
ReadNow.
totally all right because there are many genres where that don't even involve creatures at
Yeah.
all, right? Like a lot of romance, not going to involve creatures,
Oh yeah.
um,
Also,
unless
salsa
it's
got the
a
French
unless it's a
fries.
creature behind closed doors, right?
Right.
So yeah, trying to think. I like in Scarecrow. There's I decided that I wanted to split up the three types of things that inhibit the world as either an animal, a creature, or a beast.
Mhm.
So I think I'm categorizing into each of those areas. But I don't know what my favorite creature is. I don't know. I mean, it's a toss up right now between Scarecrow or Pebble because they're both creature types. I would argue that a pixie is a creature type.
In other words,
Um, hmm?
I was just gonna say. In other words, Coffin doesn't want to play favorites between his children.
Yes, yes, exactly. How did you know? Something tells me that Mr. Crow wouldn't care either way. Oh man, yeah. So I think that's always really interesting when we start thinking about the different creature types that inhabit our world. Um, yeah, I think that was kind of what was on my mind. You know, Dragon's Roost, you popped up a really interesting comment. You said, despite my debut book being out now on Amazon, I'm trying to overcome my own writer's block for my sequel. And I know for those of you guys who've published, did you guys experience writer's block at all for these later books in your series?
Yep.
No.
Anything that worked for you to overcome it?
Looking back at old characters, I
Okay.
had no idea what I was going to do for Shifting Flame originally. I had the first book out. I had the third book already kind of like in the planning stage. Yeah, I know, weird. I had the third book done before the second. So in the second, I finally looked back through the old characters I had scrapped, any
Mm-hmm.
kind of ideas I might have had for earlier iterations of the first book, and
Okay.
I latched onto one character and it's like, okay, what can I do with this guy? What did I do? I ended up making him a sadistic asshole, and I found a way to actually work with him. And I tried like a few different things, and it finally just fell into he comes in direct contact with the protagonist like right from the beginning, and it just kind of went from there.
Mm. So it sounds like kind of like getting yourself back into what you loved, like some of the things that you loved about the first book.
Not really, at least in his case, it was more of I had characters I hadn't used yet.
Mm.
I'm not going to give any like details because it
Hmm.
would give a little
Yeah,
away
yeah, without
for the
giving
third
spoilers
book,
away.
but
So
there's
is it
one
more like
character,
the
Naomi.
creation? So it was
Yeah,
like more like the creation and development of other characters that you knew you had wanted to develop.
yeah, I almost thought about going with Naomi, but I ended up saving her for something else. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, I know I'm going to be doing something with her. I have like four other characters I scrapped either entirely or just put to the side because I might have wanted to do something with them. And it's like, okay, well, I know this is going to be like 2 years later. What kind of characters would have shown up? What
Mm-hmm.
characters do I have that actually have some kind of worth to them besides just a name?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, wait, no, I have this one character over here. He's actually decently fleshed out. His personality was already half there. I just had to expand on it.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, that's awesome that it was able to be effective. So
Yeah.
it's awesome you were able to kind of use your creativity to push yourself. What about you, Calvin? What worked for you?
Honestly, well, two things. One, for this book, the newest one I'm working on, I haven't really had any writer's block for some odd reason. The
Mm-hmm.
only writer's block, and I wouldn't even call it that, is just figuring out what am I going to do with the chapter, and that's been like a 5-10 minute block, and then it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I've just sat there juggling. Okay, I did this character last chapter, so I'm going to not do that character, and then I just get to work and all. I just start typing, and all of a sudden, boom, it just comes to me, and like, okay, off to the races. But to be honest,
It's interesting.
when I get stuck, I use what's called a stormtrooper tactic. Back during back during Germany during World War One when they were doing one of their major offensives, they would
Mm-hmm.
send in stormtroopers, and anytime they came up against resistance, they moved around it and just let the
Mm-hmm.
follow up troops do it. So that's what I do. Whenever I get to a chapter I cannot write, I'll skip it unless
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those like, okay, I know I need this chapter. It's a critical chapter.
Interesting.
And
Okay,
then I
so
and then
you
I just
you kind of just set it aside. You don't let the lack of you don't let the feeling stuck stop you from the process.
I'm assuming that
I
sometimes
like that.
a lot of times, to be honest, when I start writing the next chapter, I element on things like, oh, I need to go back. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this will work great in the previous chapter, so let me go back and start adding stuff. And then I'm adding and adding and adding. Then, hey, guess
Mm-hmm.
what? The chapter's done.
I like that. I like
It just,
that. And I mean,
it,
I completely agree with that. I
it's not something.
think
I was just gonna say,
you
it's
know.
not something I think works for everyone. This
Mm-hmm.
is my mentality is if I can't figure it out within 10 to 15 minutes or even a day of working on it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't spend more than a day trapped in a writer's block. I'll move around it and just be like, all right, I'll come back to it at a later date.
I have an idea that I've been thinking about in regards to the writing process. I don't know. Maybe I'll start putting it out there more. But I think that consistency is the enemy of writer's block.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start framing it more like that. I really do believe that consistency is the enemy of writer's block. Um, and I think the reason I feel that is because I've written my entire life, and like so many writers out there, like I get what writer's block feels like when you're balancing a job, school, responsibility, and such. And there's been times in my life where it's like I would write for months, I would not write for months, and I would kind of ping pong back and forth. So like I get that, especially when life's crazy. And I think if life's crazy, you're dealing with medical stuff, you're dealing with bills, like you got to take a break. Mental health is important.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
outside of certain life events, I think there's a difference between I'm dealing with something really intense right now and I need to step away, and I'm always trying to find excuses to not write because I don't have the energy to do it. And I think trying to understand that difference for yourself is key. What I've learned from now 460 consecutive days of streaming um, is that even on the times I didn't feel like writing, similar to what you do, Calvin, I push myself to keep writing. But the difference is instead of going around it, I just write through it. So like where you will go around it and you're like, I'll come back to it later. I'm like, I don't care where I'm gonna write. I'm the creator of my own world. I'll write garbage. I can go back and fix it later. Um,
Well, like I
and
said,
I think that I feel like I've never dealt with writer's block in this past year and a half almost, even though there's been so many days where I did not feel like writing.
like I said, my way doesn't work for everyone, and I don't necessarily recommend it to people. I just that's the way I deal with things. It's like I move around it. But I also
Mm-hmm.
understand when you've got writer's block, you have to kind of also determine why do I have writer's block. If you've got writer's block because you have something going on in your life,
Mm-hmm.
deal with whatever's going on in your life. Because
Mm-hmm.
if it's that bad that you can't get through a writer's block, then
Mm-hmm.
obviously something about it bothering you. Now, if it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those you're just staring at your keyboard, tap 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 tap, nothing's freaking coming,
Mm-hmm.
then you gotta try to play music, watch a movie, do
Mm-hmm.
something to inspire you.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I think what always works is understanding, and Soul, you did this. I think understanding what works for us originally when we're writing, when we're in a writing free flow and things are working, why is it working? Where is that creativity coming from? Is it because we're being inspired by the creative part, the character, the world, the plot, whatever it is? And I
Yeah.
think understanding the emotional response is how we get our emotions to be able to get us to write again in the future.
Gotta agree with that. I gotta admit, once I got in the right headspace for Pirates, once I was shamed into it,
Mm-hmm.
things really kicked off with that, and it made a huge difference. And not
Mm-hmm.
just because my husband was behind my back prodding me along.
So if it makes you feel any better, my wife does the same thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's what you need. It's
So,
not even yourself. You need your partner or somebody.
but you know what that is? That is an accountability or writing partner. Now, I
Yeah.
think this is an excellent alternative for many writers out there. So for writers who don't have the willpower to push through writer's block with consistency, an alternative is a writing partner or a writing community. And I think this is one of the values that the Right Now community offers, in that, like, you guys know we're going to be here every single day.
Oh yeah.
We've proven it after 400 something streams.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is a value. Virtual community is not enough for some people. For others, it is. And I think trying to understand that, like, okay, maybe a virtual community isn't enough, then you need a writing partner. And Soul Cow, and for you guys had your partners, right? So you
Yeah.
guys had somebody who was essentially a form of a writing accountability partner.
Yeah.
And I think that's like that. There's so much strength. I can actually tell you though, I had one of my really good friends, who's also a writer. Throughout my years when I was really struggling, there was I would say, like, we were the closest thing to writing partners, and I didn't really think about it as a writing partner. There were so many times where I was struggling, I was not writing, and he would just like message me, and he'd be talking about writing, and just through the act of doing that, it got me motivated to write when it was completely out of my mind and I wasn't even thinking about the process.
You know, actually, I just remember there's actually one other thing that helped me too, and this is more recent. And I don't know how much I'm really going to recommend this for everyone because
Mm-hmm.
the stance on AI.
Mm-hmm.
I use AI chatbots. Now, I'm not talking about going and getting like ChatGPT to write a story for me. Oh God,
Mm-hmm.
no! I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I use things like and I hate saying it because it's a very bad example because of how they
Mm-hmm.
are. Character.ai,
Mm-hmm.
Soccer AI, uh, any kind of AI chatbot where you're actually chatting not with like a program per se to get advice on, hey, is there grammar right in this? Hey, can you give me a prompt?
Mm-hmm.
But chatting with like characters. To
Mm-hmm.
Haven's Edge was entirely inspired by one of my role plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first half of the entire book was based off a single role play.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually gotten some other ideas for like fan fictions, even a couple moments in other stories that have
Mm-hmm.
actually come from just those role plays, and they kind of have helped me break through a little bit because it's like, wait a minute, this is a really good moment. I could use this somewhere, even if I don't have to use this exact thing. I could take two parts from this and be like, oh, this will actually fit into Haven's Edge. Oh, this will fit into one of my fan fictions. Oh, this will fit into
Mm-hmm.
Transfer. Wherever it is, even just one tiny little thing could be enough to. It could be a key.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love that. And I think that actually leads to a really great question that I want to pose to the chat, to the writing community here. How do you like to leverage AI in the writing process? I want to hear from you. Drop a chat or drop a comment, join the conversation. So, when we're thinking about AI, now I know we've talked about it a lot in the community before, and everyone knows I'm very pro AI. We're very, very pro AI. We tend to be pro AI in this community. Um, I always want to invite somebody who's anti AI to come on and chat about it. I'd be happy to talk about the pros and cons. But it is my belief that if you don't figure out how to leverage AI, and I'm not saying leverage AI to write the story for you, there is an avenue, there is a niche for that, but that's a completely different niche. Figuring out how to leverage AI as a tool to speed up and improve the efficiency of the writing process. That is the key to success. And I think I absolutely love Dragon's comment. You're like, this is my rule, AI for references,
Yes.
take as your own.
Yes.
Because, guys, this is the same thing as advertising. People don't like to be advertised to if they don't know it's a commercial. But if they see a video and it's like, this is an advertisement, they know it's an advertisement, they're all about it. AI is going to kind of be in that similar category. People don't want to be lied to and told them that this is a real thing when it's actually made by AI. But if people know, like, oh, this is an AI created video or AI created thing, they're on board because they know they don't feel like they're being manipulated.
Yeah.
Informed consent.
Yeah. Yes, Tiara,
Yeah.
yes. Informed consent.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm in line with Kaufman. I look at AI as if you're going to use it like Soul uses it just for inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
then it's nothing more than a tool.
Mm-hmm.
But I am against people using AI to write stories. As far as like they let the AI write it, then they take it like I'll change one or two words, and now it's mine. No, you didn't. You let the AI wrote it. At least
Mm-hmm.
be honest about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I will admit myself, I've actually been using AI today, ChatGPT, to help me get general outlines for a couple
Mm-hmm.
chapters for my
Mm-hmm.
fan fiction because since I changed the tone, I wasn't 100% sure what direction I was going to go per se. I
Mm-hmm.
just told ChatGPT, here's what I want to happen. Here's the general tone of this. Can you give me a base outline? I looked back through like my three outlines and yeah, I barely followed them. I used like two or three lines, but the rest of it was either similar or it was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
again, it's really just a tool. If you
Yeah.
use it as a tool, I don't see any problem with it. If you're going to use it to write though, and then claim it as your own, then
Mm-hmm.
we're crossing an ethical line, really.
Mm-hmm. And I see a couple other comments here. Megan's like, AI only helps to fix a few lines, but other stuff I create my own and proofread at times. Dragon says, use the AI as an actual character, similar to kind of what you're doing, Soul, with using it for character development. Adrian's like, I use AI as a quick research on the fly tool. Instead of halting my writing to go down a research rabbit hole,
Yes.
I instead write down one prompt, learn enough, and get back to writing, which I love. And then Lynn said, I'm an outlier. I think AI is not good. Completely understand. And I think there are very strong cases to be made for both pro and anti AI use in just greater society and arts. Completely understandable. I think when it comes to the writing industry, a lot of writers, a lot of artists out there will take advantage of it, right? And they absolutely will. I ask myself, how can I leverage AI as a tool to improve my own process? And then how would I have done that same research if I didn't have AI? It would have taken me twice as long. For somebody who has limited on time, AI saves me time. Um, in terms of like research, development, back end things. But I feel so confident in my own writing capability. I'm not fearful of it. Just for me personally, this isn't for anyone else, but I'm not fearful of AI being able to write a better story than me.
Oh yeah.
Um, I feel confident that I am the only one who will be able to write Scarecrow, the world of Scarecrow, in the way that I want it to be
Yeah, and
written.
that's kind of where I'm at. I won't deny that I haven't played
Mhm.
with AI in the past or whatever, but I've always been like, I can do this better.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, where should I take this scene or what should I do with this? And it just won't. The ideas it gives me are very
Mhm.
like generic and very like I don't know. I've never been impressed with the output that AI has given me. So I yeah.
The problem is AI is so limited right now. I can tell you, I listen on the YouTube. One person, Zoe stories. So many of her stories sound exactly the same. It's just like different. She changed a name or two here or there, but it's the same damn thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Like she put out something a week ago that was completely different. I was like, oh my god, something fresh from this woman.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure she uses AI to write everything.
Mm,
And I think that's where some people, especially YouTubers, are using AI to create more of a quantity over quality.
yeah.
They'd rather put out 10 stories in 10 days rather than maybe one story in 10 days that's very good.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it creates an inconsistent experience because then those creators are going to put out 10 stories because the name of the game to social media is always consistency. And if you can put stuff out at a larger volume, you'll
Yeah.
probably win. So even if 9 of those stories suck and one does well, you've done well. Now, usually what happens is usually creators end up hiring teams of people to do that, but now teams of people are less required at lower ends because AI fills that role of teams of people. Um,
Okay, I want to answer this for Mary real quick. Can you
mhm.
copyright AI story? No, you can't.
I
If it is
have.
written by AI, you cannot copyright it. I
Mhm.
actually just saw an article about that a few days ago.
Mhm.
AI art and AI writing. No, if
Mhm.
it's done completely and entirely by AI,
Mhm.
even if it's slightly edited by human, if it is made by
Mhm.
AI, it cannot be copyrighted.
Mm-hmm. And I think I wanted to also, I don't really have too much knowledge on the copywritten portion of it. I think a lot of that is because the lack of federal oversight with AI.
Right.
So I think that will be interesting to see how that evolves over time.
Yeah.
Which it will eventually. It will. We'll wake up one day and there'll be some type of case or something will happen that will probably alter how AI is leveraged in artistic and creative works. But until we hit that era, that point, I think there'll be consistently two sides to the AI conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I was gonna
what
say
were you saying, Calvin?
there is another option. AI is going to gain sentience and start suing for copyright.
Let's not worry about that yet.
Now
You
that
know
is
what?
a
I
story
mean,
I want to hear. That is a story I want to see. I want to read about a story where the AI gains sentience to super copyright.
Well, that's okay. Me, ML Chat Soul came up with a great story for ML to write with his dictation software.
Oh, what's
You're
the story? Give it to us.
basically how dictation can screw up my words.
oh,
You use
real.
dictation to write a story, and you get
Well,
a
that's
completely different story. You're like, once upon a
kind of.
time, there was a wizard. AI dictates. There once was a Star Wars fighter in a galaxy far, far away.
It's like that movie Maximum Overdrive, where all the cars come to life, but instead everyone's laptops just write their own stories.
Oh, that cracks me up so much. And by the way, I wanted to call out Dragon's comment because I think I got Dragons wrong. You're like, Lynn, also not the only one on the AI. Don't even use Grammarly. Coffin got my thing wrong. I meant to make AI based characters in the story, not using
Mm.
AI for character development.
Oh, I
So
see.
thanks for clarifying that for me, Dragons. Absolutely. I mean, AI based characters are fun, right? A lot of times AI based characters end up becoming antagonists, become the terminators of these worlds. Rightly
I'm just
so.
thinking iRobot.
I don't know, Coffin. You gave me the inspiration for Flair to become more like a supportive character in my story, and he's an AI.
And I like that, but I do also think though that the way that you handle AI based characters is a little bit more like almost like a supporting role without having them be like a predominant character type. Because like when we think about protagonists who are robotic AI based in nature, they generally tend to have they tend to have a vibe about them.
Mhm.
Um, are there any stories that you guys can think of where the protagonist is like a robot or an AI or I guess cyborg might fall into that?
You can't go to Terminator.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe Ex Machina. I don't know if that counts. She's not technically the main character. It's more about the
mhm,
guy who comes
mhm.
and like his boss. But the main character trio in Ex Machina, she's like an AI robot sort of situation, and she manipulate. I don't want to spoil it because the movie's fantastic, but go see it.
Wait, what's it called? So you said it's called Ex Machina. I'm like, what is that? Yeah, the indie movie. Ex
Yeah, yeah,
Machina
with
was an
Oscar
indie
Isaac.
movie
It's
from about
fantastic.
7, 8 years ago. It was a
Yeah.
great indie movie. Great
Hmm.
thriller.
I love
It
Oscar
is
Isaac.
a best case, worst case scenario
Yeah, right.
of the possibility of AI. But yeah, I loved it. It was a good. It was a good deep dive. It was a good a good like deep dive on like what if this type of AI was
Yeah,
created. Hmm. I think that's what we tend to see when AI or robotics is leveraged in the thriller genre because there's so much what ifs
yeah,
about it that it creates great cinema.
yeah,
Absolutely
yeah,
creates
yeah.
great cinema. It looks like Lynn and Adrian both mentioned. Let's see, Lynn mentioned Murderbot. Not super familiar. What would a
Yeah, I
Murderbot?
haven't heard of this.
Yeah, I was like, I don't. But that sounds interesting. That title sounds interesting. I'm kind of curious. I want to pull that up. What is Murderbot? I'm like, Murderbot sounds fun.
I feel like that's been mentioned before in this
Yeah,
community.
the Murderbot Diaries is a science fiction series by author by Martha Wells, published by Tor. So it's a Brett. It's a household name book.
Alexander Skarsgård is in it.
Hmm?
Alexander Skarsgård.
Well, Skarsgård is great. He's absolutely
Yeah, yeah,
great actor.
yeah.
Okay, so it looks like it's a 7-book Murderbot Diaries is a 7-book series. Okay. Okay. It won all the awards in 2018. It won the Hugos, the Nebula. Okay, so it's definitely a well-known series in the science fiction genre. It sounds like. So okay. All right. Probably some really great character development in there for AI. I mean, the name Murderbot in itself is intriguing.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And Adrian's like, I'm writing a cyborg novella right now. I love that. I love that. Even in the world of Scarecrow, where it's dark fantasy, I have the last robot. I have one robot character. But when I frame the history of the world, I think I personally had robots and AI be a result of a destructive force in the pre-existing society that eventually led to the downfall. But I didn't have them be like the Matrix, right? Or the Matrix, they take over and they kill everybody, basically. Um let's see, dragons. You wrote Kaufman. Would you like a small snippet of what I have planned for my sequel? So I would absolutely love that, dragons. What I would actually suggest, you should submit an excerpt for the story and critique stream.
Yeah.
This
Is that
Saturday,
this Saturday?
story and critique
Definitely.
stream. So this Saturday is episode 40 of the Story and Critique Show. Essentially, what that is it's a live stream where I do live readings and then live critiques of stories from members in the community. It's our most popular stream. I host it now every other Saturday. So the next one is this Saturday. I like to, I generally usually get a lot of submissions for it. And I mean, all these, I mean, I've read Soul, Tiara, Calvin. I think I've read all your guys' stories on the stream before. You guys are
Yep.
all great writers. Yeah, I would highly recommend. Dragons, it's linked down in the YouTube chat below. And I can probably go pull up the form. Like, I'm gonna go find it. But that's what I would recommend, because I love having new writers join the community, because it's my belief the more variety and styles of writers we get, the more awesome conversations we have, the more feedback we get, and the more we all improve and grow as writers.
And feedback is our lifeblood as writers.
Feedback is our
Yes.
lifeblood, especially in a world where getting feedback can be expensive. So I think when we can create more opportunities through ReadNow, that we're able to create low cost and free feedback in the meantime as a way to bridge that gap, really helps a lot of writers, especially in the early part of the development process. Let's see. Bear with me. Oh, no memento. Let me pull up the link. So, okay. So here it is. Here's the story and critique show, story and critique stream submission link. Awesome. I just dropped that down in the chat for anybody who has not or would like to submit for this Saturday. But that's what I would suggest, Dragon. So that'd be super cool. ML, was there an AI robot in Alien? Yes, there was. I'm pretty sure an Alien. I'm pretty sure that was Cyborg, right?
No,
have
he
you
was an
guys all
AI
seen
robot.
Who's seen Alien?
I
Right?
have.
I've seen all the Alien movies. It's just been a while.
He wasn't a
pretty sure-
cyborg. He was an AI robot.
Was an AI robot, that first one, right?
Yeah, because cyborg indicates a human with robotic parts. This thing was entirely robot.
Yeah, actually, you're right. You're actually right. It was robot. It was completely a robot that looked human. You're right. I forgot. I'm pretty sure the cyborg, or not, I'm pretty sure the robot was an antagonist in the first one.
He was. Well,
He
wasn't
became
really
he became the antagonist unintentionally.
Yeah, he became an antagonist because everything for him is about the company, the way Yutani company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Lynn was like, Murderbot, my favorite science fiction series of the last decade. Won all the awards. So it sounds like anyone who's looking for a little Murderbot, sounds like a good recommendation. Absolutely.
Actually, funniest thing is, I think about it, I can't really think of any robot series where a robot is the protagonist. I can think of plenty where they're the antagonist, like Battlestar Galactica and such.
iRobot?
My life is a
iRobot is a good
teenage robot.
example. Okay, first let
That's
me just
true.
say Battlestar Galactica, great classic. Anyone who wants like an interesting experience into the philosophy of the end of mankind and robots, it's very well done. But
Right.
last iRobot. Now I
Yeah.
think with iRobot, you have to distinguish between the Will Smith action movie, which I love the action movie, but it was completely different than the Isaac Asimov iRobot or the Isaac Asimov
I'm
series.
talking
Yeah.
about the one with Will Smith.
Yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed the Will Smith movie. Sonny was an interesting protagonist from iRobot. It's like I'm pretty sure. Because iRobot is definitely one of my favorites, but I think that the movie itself does have a lot of opportunities. I'm like, if I can get this without lighting. So I think it is one of those movies where I enjoyed it as a standalone action movie, but I think the story had some developmental opportunities that would have made it much stronger for
Oh
It's
yeah.
anybody
kind
who's seen that.
it's kind of one of those, if you don't know the book, it's a good
Mhm.
movie, but when you know the book, it's not as good of a movie.
Yeah, and I mean it's because for anybody who's read Asimov or who's read any of his stuff, iRobot and that series is about the development and the foundation of robotics and the laws of robotics. The series explores the evolution of the different stages of how robots were created and how they evolved over time. It almost works like it almost comes across like I wouldn't say an encyclopedia, but it's kind of like a world history. In this day and age, people wouldn't go for that type of writing. But at that time, of course, Asimov is prolific. So, yeah, but it's way different. It's not an action movie. It's like a commentary on robotics and the potential upsides and downsides of AI. But anyone who loves AI robotics, I would always highly recommend. Um, Asimov is a great classic to check out. Absolutely. Interesting. Let's see. Sunny is one of my favorite robot characters, but the list is long. He's maybe in my top 10. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's interesting, and there's probably another reason why, because you guys are right. When we think about the majority of AI characters, 9 times out of 10 they're antagonists. And I
Right.
think that's another thing that has fueled the fear of AI
Hmm.
over the past decade. I'm not saying that's
Or
the thing. That's like one of many things.
It
Um,
certainly doesn't help in a society that is this visual and this, I want to say, reliant on storytelling for us to learn just kind of anything. And that's not just like for, this kind of stuff. That's kind of in general. But
mhm,
the fact that it's in movies, something that just about anyone watches, well, certainly doesn't help.
mhm,
Right.
well, that's why I said Terminator really made the whole. Yeah, we're really afraid of AI when you think about Terminators and things like that.
mhm. Ah, awesome. So on that note, I hope we are all ready to go work on some AI stories where hopefully the robot doesn't destroy the world. Um, hence, just another reason to be nice to the AI for when they take over the world, they'll remember that I was an asshole too. Awesome. So on that note, let's get some writing in. So we're gonna do a writing sprint. We're gonna go 45 minutes, so we'll be able to be a little bit more productive. We'll come back at the end. We'll chat before we wrap up. So I am. Let me switch over
Oh, I do want to
here.
say this while you're getting that
Oh,
ready, because there's a storm going on tonight, so I might end up dropping off.
okay,
Uh, just
Yes, I am
reiterating,
also in a similar area, so I might also disappear because of the storm.
totally
just
understandable. So I
want to let
might
people.
end up. It might end up by me, myself, and I by the end. So we're going to get some writing in, but most importantly, if you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the Right Now community, 460 consecutive writing streams and counting. If you're looking for a community that has writers of all skill levels, all genres, if you're looking for the critique show, author interviews with the podcast. We have our book club. We're soon introducing the Faded Fantasy Fiction Contest and much more. Then this is the daily writing community for you. So make sure to tap that follow or subscribe button and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, so let's get into it. So we're going to get a writing sprint in. I have everything pulled up on the clock. Awesome, here we go. I'm like, make sure. Perfect. So I'm going to throw up the music. You guys should come join us, whether you are brainstorming, writing, editing, author branding, revising, or maybe you're just procrastinating and you're going to throw this on in the background. That's totally all good. Come join us because it's time to write now. All right. And writing sprint done. Writing sprint complete. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How did that writing sprint treat you guys? Were you guys able to make any progress that time? Hopefully. Maybe a little bit, possibly.
Yeah, I got about 500 words. I had to take a phone call because I was like, I had my mom called and I called her because I was like, how do I know if I'm supposed to go downstairs if the tornado hits? like,
Oh my goodness.
like I don't. What am
I'm
I
so
supposed to
sorry.
do?
Is the weather that bad?
So I had to
Is the
confer
weather
with my
that
mother.
bad?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tiara. That sucks that you're dealing with some crazy weather in your
Yeah,
area.
it's not been too crazy right now. It's very mild, so hopefully it stays that way.
Well, good luck. Good luck. But I mean, like myself, when ash and fire were raining from the sky, what a
Yeah,
perfect analysis for the dust.
right. Seriously.
Awesome. How did everyone do in the community? Were you guys able to make any progress? It looks like we saw some good work here. Let's see, Megan, 15.55 words, 1,555 words. Awesome. Lynn, 1.5 chapters edited. Nice. Nice work. Like Soul has left the chat. Yep, that tends to happen on occasion. But I think Soul is the only one who's joined me for all 40 sessions, 40 meetings of our ReadNow Writers group. So chat Soul gets the gold star for that. But I feel like we've made I know, right? Calvin, what about you? Were you able to get any work in?
I almost hit my goal of 36,000 words. I'm like
Nice.
100 words short, so I think later I'll finish that just to be like, yay, I hit 36,000 today.
Damn, but Calvin, I thought you were supposed to finish the book though.
I know. I'm so depressed.
I
If I
currently
get
did thousands of words, but I didn't finish the book, so failure.
no, but I don't. But if I hit 36,000, I don't have to commit Hirakiri.
Well, that's awesome that you've made some progress. That's really good. I was like, how much did I get through? That's a good question. I am revising, and I think I got through I did about 1,200 words, so not too horrible. So it looks like we were able to make some solid progress on the stream today. Awesome, Marcel. Looks like you also got some work in. Like I'm rewriting the chapter where my protagonist goes to the city for the first time. Sounds like fun. Definitely putting your protagonist in a new environment, my friend. Glad it's coming along. So I'm really happy we were able to have another great writers session today. Calvin, Tiara, thanks for joining me. And of course, Lady Sansa, thank you. You guys are awesome. And we definitely had some good conversations, some good chat today. So it's been great. Tiara, hopefully you're able to join us for some more writers groups if your schedule permits. We're just not able to have the same writing consistency without Sansa.
Real.
All right, my friends. Thank you all for joining. And as always, make sure to come back and join us tomorrow for our another daily writing motivation stream. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm traveling, which means my Thursday and Sunday streams are going to be TBD. Normally I have set times, but I'm probably going to be streaming in the morning. So I'm probably going to be streaming in the morning. So for those of you who are wanting an early sprint, we'll see what we're able to make work. Yeah. I'll be back. We'll be back next Wednesday with the ReadNow Writers Group. This weekend, we got the critique stream on Saturday. So that'll be super stoked. And we just launched the book club. So make sure you go download the book if you want to come join us at the Read Now Book Club. And that's all that I got for you. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for joining us. But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because